Hey, everybody. How are you doing on this Tuesday evening? This is Mother Theresa, and it is 7:01. It is time to grandstand. It's time for our weekly conversation about the things that God drops in my spirit. And not only does He drop it in my spirit for things for me to discuss, but sometimes I have to go back and I go back to where I started from, and I pick up a chapter from my book, which is Conversations from a Mother's Heart. And I have to share with you all and tell you all that this was the I guess the platform or the beginning of what I was basing most of my Tuesday night content on, is different chapters that are found in this book. If you haven't picked up a copy, it is available on Amazon, or you can reach me after or during the segment and just put it in the chat and say, hey, Mother Theresa, I would like to get a copy of your book. One of the great things that I will say that in working on these journals, it definitely gives me an opportunity to use that creative side of me to write and to journal, but it also gives me a sense of fulfillment of being able to complete projects and do some things that I have purposed in my heart to do. And that's what grandstanding is all about. Grandstanding is about, talking about those good things, or sometimes it's not always the good things that's going on in your life, but being able to share some of the, hello there, Sequoia, and Bryson. To be able to share some of the things that's happening in your life, and not only the good things, but like I said, sometimes it's not it could be some not so good things, but it's just different things that you are sharing in your life. So that's what grandstanding is all about. And so for those that come along and join in with me on Tuesday nights, I just say thank you for joining in and just seeing what I'm going to be talking about for the next 30 minutes to an hour. So I would like to just say, first of all, I'm going to go back and say, again, happy Mother's Day to all of the wonderful mothers out there. I hope you had a blessed day on Monday, celebrating with your family, your loved ones, all the people that mean the very most to you. And I would like to say happy Mother's Day again to my mom, Miss Everline Eichner, who is always with us. And so I think she's only been absent maybe once or twice. And one of those times she was in the hospital. So, Mama, thank you for always being here and being a great supporter. Usually she is the first one that is tuning in or logging on. So, Mama, I love you. Thank you so very much. I hope you had a wonderful, wonderful Mother's Day. And for my other mothers that are joining in with me, my own daughter and my niece, I hope you all had a great Mother's Day. And anyone else who's going to come back and watch the replay, I hope you had a great Mother's Day if you are a mother. Just hope you had a great Sunday. So let's see what we're going to get into tonight. I was looking over the one of the chapters in the book, and it's chapter 44, and it's called Cherishing Serendipitous Moments. And so as I was thinking about that, it reminded me of a couple of things that has happened to me in my life that I thought was rather strange or rather odd. And I also looked up the definition of serendipitous. Of course, I knew that it meant something happening by chance, but the dictionary or the definition that it states online, it says that serendipitous is an adjective that describes accidentally being in the right place at the right time, like bumping into an old friend at some unusual location or finding $100 laying on the ground. So there was their definition of serendipitous. Well, I'm going to share with you all a couple of things, a couple of encounters that I would say were some serendipitous moments in my life. And I'm going to ask that you in the chat if you would like to share some serendipitous moments that have happened in your life. And also, what has that impact been when it happened to you? And then also maybe that has happened to you as a result of that happening to you. First of all, I have to share with you all that one of the things, hey, my kind May, I have to share with you all something that happened most recently. And it was the strangest thing, but it was one of those, and I would say, when it says something that happens by chance or happenstance, of course, I'm a believer. So I believe everything happens to us and for us because it is God ordained. There are no chance meetings. There are no things that just kind of accidentally happen. I believe that God destined these things to happen in our lives. And so because of that, we have to understand that we don't believe in chance. We don't believe in any of that. We believe in God ordained moments. So a couple of months ago, I was at my office and our secretary came back to my office and she said, Miss Caldwell, she said, are you expecting a delivery? Hello there, Ramona. And I said, yes, I'm expecting a shipment from the Texas School Safety. And she said, well, it's a guy, the delivery guy is here. And he said that it's a whole pallet of things. And I was like, well, I was expecting a shipment, but I wasn't expecting a whole pallet of something. And so she said, well, he's here and he has a whole pallet of materials for you. And so I was like, okay, well, let me go to the front. She said, because he needed my signature and we wanted to be sure that it was for me. And so when I get to the front of the office and I step outside of the in the, I guess, the entryway or the foyer, this young man is sitting there on the couch and he is sitting there. And when I walked outside to greet him, he looked at me and I looked at him. And he asked me, the first thing he asked me, he said, are you from Nacogdoches? And I said, yes. And he said, you don't know who I am, do you? And I said, no, I don't, but you look very familiar. And so, and he just looked and he just kind of smiled and then he stood up and I was trying to think in my brain, where do I know this young man from? Is it from church? Is it from a place of employment? You know, where have I seen him in Nacogdoches? Is he a relative? I did not know who he was. And then he just kind of kept looking and he kept smiling and he just kept saying, you really don't know who I am. And I was like, sir, I'm sorry, but you look familiar, but I can't recall your name. And he said this. He said, I am your nephew. And when he said, I am your nephew, of course, I immediately knew who he was. He said, I'm your sister Dorothy's son. And I felt like, first of all, my sister Dorothy, who is my dad's daughter, she was not raised in the household with me, and so it's not my mother's daughter, but it's my dad's daughter, who is still my sister. It's definitely my sister. We don't necessarily believe in steps and everything. She is my sister, and so he said, I'm your nephew, and he said his name, and he said Anthony. And so, and when I looked at him and I just immediately saw him or remembered him from a little boy, because I have not seen this young man in years. When I say years, he's probably, the last time that I saw him, he may have been 10 years old. And this young man is probably in his 40s, maybe. And so, and as we began to talk, he said, well, Auntie, I have something for you. And he said, but it's a lot. And I said, well, what is it? He said, well, I'm not sure. He said, but I need to move my truck around to the side. He was a FedEx delivery guy. And he said, I need to move my truck around so we can get it unloaded. And so he gives me the packing slip. And as I was walking and looking at the packing slip, and my secretary, she was just laughing because she was like, Miss Caldwell, that's your nephew. How did you not know he's your nephew? And I had to explain to her, the circumstances when he had walked away. And as I was looking at the packing slip, you all, the person's name on that paper said Thresa Johnson. And I'm like, this is not even for me. I'm Theresa Caldwell. And when he walked in, my secretary said he asked for Theresa Caldwell. And so when I looked at the paper and I said, that's TJ, who is around the corner in the other part of the building. So I go out and I was getting ready to tell him that it was not for me. But how ironic was it that he would show up in my office with a package for the person around the corner, but yet I hadn't seen this young man in 30 years. So when I go out and I would begin to start talking to him, and I was like, Anthony, this is not even for me. This is for my neighbor that's in the next building. And he began to like, oh my God. So when we talk about a serendipitous moment or something that happens because it is God ordained, that's my serendipitous moment that happened within the last couple of months. Now, mind you, we had a conversation about, the fact that, we hadn't seen each other in such a long time, and how God orchestrates and allows things to happen that we could never even fathom or try to put it together. There is no way that I would have known or to even try to orchestrate that. I would have never known where this young man lives, which of course he says that he lives in the Houston area. But those types of things happen. And let me tell you all, people, that when those type of things happen, you have to just say that there is most definitely a God. There is most definitely a God, and we have to allow God to work in our lives because he gives us moments like that. Now, it probably will be a good long time before I see this young man again. However, he did tell me that he delivers in our area all the time. So I may see him again. But these are the types of things that when you have those things that happen to you, you have to just say, of course, there is a God. So I know I am not the only person who has had a moment like that when you think about it and you think about how crazy or how ironic or how it's nothing but God, we've all had those moments in our lives. And it's in those moments that we realize that, you know what? God loves me and he cares about me so much that he would allow certain things like this to happen in our lives just so we will also know how much he loves us, but we would understand how powerful he is and how great he is and how he controls everything in the universe. And so when we think about that, who would not serve a God like this? Who would not serve a God that's able to create such moments like this? Now, I'm going to share with you all another situation. And again, if you don't mind, share some of the things that may have happened to you in your life that was a God moment. But I'm going to share with you all another thing that happened to me. And this happened to me years ago, when I was, of course, in Nacogdoches. And one of the things, you shared, one of the things that happened to me years ago, it's a little bit, people think about when you start talking about angels and you start talking about different things like that, people may think that you are a little bit weird or you're a little bit crazy or whatever. But I'm going to tell you all, I believe with all my heart that God sent an angel for me, to me. And it was the weirdest thing because I was working as the director of a daycare center. And as I was sitting in my office and I was looking out the window and I saw this lady that was walking across the street. And my eyes were just drawn to this lady because she looked, and the words that I have used in the past is that she looked like someone from long ago. She looked like a haggard old lady. And when I say a haggard old lady, it's not like a witch or anything, but her son looked like she had been standing in the sun, or maybe working in fields or something like that, because she had very distinctive lines in her skin. She was a Caucasian woman, and she had very distinctive lines in her skin, but she wasn't scary looking, but she was very distinctive looking. And her clothes looked like maybe she had come out of like the Bible days or something like that. It had like layers of clothes that kind of looked like you would see back in, in the Bible days, or long time ago. And she was carrying bags. So she had maybe 3 bags, and it looked like maybe she had been to a grocery store or something. And so as she was walking along, and this was on South Street, and I was just watching her as she was, walking across the street. And then she got right there in front of the building that I was in. And I was like, I'm going to go and offer her a ride. Now, I had no idea where this lady was going. No idea where she was going. And so, but I knew that I needed to go and give this lady a ride. So as I got in my car and I, went to go and try to pick her up, she crossed over to the other side. And so when I waited and I waited, and then I was thinking, okay, well, let me go down and I'm going to come back up. Well, she crossed to the other side again. And so when I crossed over, and then I stopped and I asked her, I said, ma'am, where are you going? Do you need a ride? And she looked at me, and it kind of with the it's weird, you all. It's weird, but just follow me. So she looked at me and she shook her head. And I said, okay, I will take you where you're needing to go. And so when I asked her, where is she going? And she told me, she said, I'm going to and fro collecting names. And I'm like, going to and fro collecting names? What kind of talk is that? And so, and as we were driving, and I was kind of because when she said that, I was drawn to her because she looked kind of weird, or weird may not be the right word, but she looked very distinctive. And so, and as I was driving, I was kind of watching her like out of the side, the corner of my eye to see, what she was doing. Well, she started talking, and she started like she was praying, but in her talking, it's like she was talking to someone to the side of her. And she just kept talking, and she would shake her head and everything like that. And then she started talking to me. And she started telling me about me. She started telling me about me and my children and the things that I was doing in my life, and just so many things. Now, let me tell you all, I didn't get scared. I did not get scared. But I thought, oh my gosh, I was in the state of mind of, I have an angel in my car, okay? And she just began to just keep telling me about me and my life, and the things that she began to talk about, the things that God loves. And she had some food, and she said that her father, she kept referencing her father. And for those of you all that are just joining me, I'm talking about cherishing serendipitous moments, or moments, God moments, that he allows certain things or things to happen in our lives that are a little bit off, maybe what we would consider off, not your normal circumstances, but I believe that they are ordained or by God. So I'm telling about this situation that happened to me a couple of years ago. So as I begin getting back to the story, so the lady, as I was talking to her, she would talk to me, and then she would talk to whoever she was talking to the right of her. And she would talk, and she was telling me that she said, my father taught me that everything that we have, we should share. And so she said, the little that I do have, I share with others. And so, and I explained, and I said, yes, I definitely believe in that, and everything like that. So to make a long story short, the lady, as I was driving, and again, I was on South Street. So I was asking her, I said, well, where are you going? And like she told me, she's going to and fro collecting names. And she asked me if I could take her to the bus station. And the bus station was in Lufkin, which was the next town over. And so, and as as we're driving, and she asked me if she could pray for me. And I said, of course you can pray for me. And as I began to reach over to touch her hand, she said, oh no, you can't touch me. You can't touch me. And so, and I was like, okay. And this lady began to pray. She started praying in just normal, words where I could understand. And then she began to pray in an unknown tongue. We call it, maybe our prayer language or whatever. So she began to pray where I didn't understand what she was saying. And so we just keep riding, and I'm still just kind of thinking in my mind, I'm not afraid, you all, but I am taking note of every single thing that's happening. And she continued to tell me about what God loves and different things like that. She even mentioned something about, taking care of children. Now, this lady didn't know where I had left from the daycare. She didn't know that I worked with children, but she talked about influencing children, having being a role model for children. And also she talked about, my children, my daughters, and she was just saying different things about, what a mom does. And it was the most amazing conversation, but it was also probably one of the weirdest things that have ever happened in my life. And so, and as I was taking her to the bus station, and we get to the bus station, and I was asking her, I said, well, ma'am, do you have enough money to catch the bus? And she said, no. She said, people just help me along the way. And so I had some money. Hey, Odie, I had some money in my bag or in my purse. And whatever, and it wasn't a lot of money, but it was probably, maybe $50 or $60. And so I gave her that money, and I was thinking, okay, wherever she's going, I hope this is enough money to get her to her next stop. And so, and as I gave her the money, and she got out, and she said a couple of more things, we kind of, like I said, we just kind of chatted all the way to the place. And if we did have moments of silence, it was because she was talking to that person or whomever that was to the right of her. And it was like she was getting what to say, and then she would say it to me. And so, and as she got out of my car, and I just kind of breathed, I just kind of like, oh goodness. And then it was like the Lord said, go inside and see if she was able to get on the bus. And so, and I lock my car, and I go inside, and I asked the guy that was inside, I guess the ticket taker or whoever, I asked the guy, I said, I just dropped off a lady here, and I was wanting to make sure that she got on the bus. And he looked at me like I was crazy. And he said, no one has come in here. There's not been anybody to come in here to get on a bus. And I was like, oh my God. I went back to my car, and all I could do, you all, was just sit there and really, really cry, because I began to think, what is it that God wanted me to know? Why did this just happen to me? Hello, Sister Joyce. Why did this just happen to me? Why did I pick up this lady? What drew me to her? The whole situation was such a unique thing. But like I said, the one thing that I was not afraid. It was like I was drawn. I knew I had to pick this lady up. I knew I had to talk to her. And I knew that wherever she needed to go, that it was my assignment to take her there. Now, the whole situation about me not touching her, and like I said, whoever she was talking to, I believe she was talking to God. Uh, you know, all of that is a mystery. And guess what the lady's name is? Because I asked her, what is her name? She asked me my name, and her name was Joy. And so I immediately, when I got back to my office, I began to try to write all of this stuff down, because I was like, if I don't write it down, I'm going to forget it. But that was one of the most amazing things that have ever happened to me. And I look at that whole experience. For those that came in a little bit later, you're going to have to watch the replay so you can get the whole gist of this story. But the thing about it is that I realized through that incident that, first of all, God is real. And anything that he wants us to know or to experience, he will definitely find a way for us to experience it. I cannot say that my faith had been shaken, or I was, in going through a spirit or a period of doubt or disbelief. I can't say that's what was happening in my life. I think my mind was such to the degree that maybe I was searching for some answers for things. And this was God's way of letting me know that, first of all, that he is real, that he exists, and that he is all power, that he is everything that I need him to be. And that he sometimes he has to prove himself for us and to us to let us know the magnificent power that he has. And so that is my serendipitous moments that I have shared with you. And what an experience. You're absolutely right, Ramona, because I don't think that I will ever, ever forget that experience. And for some, it may scare them. And for some people, when I tell this story, or this experience, I always let them know that I was not afraid. It was like I was pulled, I was drawn. I was just like, you've got to get to this lady. You need to help this lady. And then everything else just unfolded. But for her to tell me, and I can vividly see this lady's face. It looked like her face was almost like a bronze color. And again, I say it looked like she had been in the sun for centuries or years or whatever. I know years and centuries is a great amount of time, but it looked like she had been baking in the sun because of the bronze appearance of her face. And again, like I said, just a little lady that definitely stood out. And then her statement, I'm just going to and fro collecting names. And I think that the going to and fro collecting names for my father. And so I wrote it all down. I definitely wrote it all down because, like I said, I didn't want to forget that. But how many of you all have God done something in a miraculous way for you, that or for you, to you, or in your family's life, that you know without a shadow of a doubt that was nothing but God? And sometimes it may not be something to that degree, to that experience, but I think every day, when we wake up and we can open our eyes, and first of all, that's the first miracle for the day. But he allows us to wake up. He allows us to experience another day. I say he gives us another opportunity to get things right. He gives us another opportunity to represent him well. And when we have that opportunity, you all, we cannot waste it. We cannot waste a moment, because before you know it, we're out of here. Okay. And so enjoy those moments, but live for those moments, live for those things. Don't let the little things and the big things that's happening in our lives or in your lives pass you by without you not really living in that moment. This month is Mental Health Awareness month, and we're talking about, or we're highlighting the different things in our lives, or the different the things that we are highlighting the positive things as well as the negative things that go along with our mental health. And we are also talking about tips and strategies to help you to have a great mental health. And so we do those things. We have these tips and these strategies because, first of all, for some of us, and I just, sometimes I will have like a fleeting moment where I know what I want to say, but it's like the right words. I'm trying to make sure I get the right words. But so in celebrating Mental Health Awareness Month, one of the things that I have challenged you all is to make sure that you're taking care of yourself, both mentally. Hello there, my friend, Sister Andrea. Making sure that you're taking care of yourself, both mentally, physically, spiritually, emotionally, because it all works hand in hand. Anything that affects the way that we think, we feel, the way that we do, the way that we live life, we've got to get a check on that. And the one thing that I will say is that, just like I've shared with you all in the past this month, is find you a person that you can talk to. Find you a good, loving, trusting adult that you can talk to, that whenever you're having moments of just kind of whatever, where you just need to talk to somebody, find somebody, find a person, find your person that you can talk to, and then also be open to being the person for someone else, because sometimes you may be the person that somebody else comes to give their, lay their burdens down, or to vent, or to whatever. I was talking to someone a couple of days ago, and they said, I just needed to vent. I just need to vent. And we have to be in a position, or we have to be ready for the people to just walk through our doors or walk into our lives and just say, hey, I just need to vent for a little bit. So we've got to be able to hold space for people. We've got to make sure that we're holding space for people who just need to talk. And sometimes the conversation may get a little bit heavy. So, and in that moment, you're listening and you're actively listening, but you ask God to give you what to say. One of my scriptures is that I use for the work that I do is that just as God has comforted me, I will take those same skills and those same things, and I'm available to comfort others. And that's what we've got to do, you all. We've got to be in a position that we can not only look for comfort from other people, but then also being that person that somebody can come and we can hold space for that person. Okay, you all, this is what I've talked about tonight, is cherishing serendipitous moments. I know each one of you all have had some moments in your life that are those God moments, those moments that are just like you cannot even begin to explain what has happened. So listen, take the time to really share those moments with someone, because I know it's kind of creepy. It was kind of weird, but this is something that I'll never forget. And I will share it and I will tell people about it, because I know that if God allowed different little things like that to happen to me, just so I'll know and understand his goodness, his power, his reverence, and all of those things. If he's sharing moments like that with me, he's definitely sharing moments like that with you all. So listen, everybody, y'all have a great night. Thank you all for joining me on tonight for Grandstanding with Mother Theresa. If you missed the beginning of this session live stream, go back and listen to it again. But not only that, share it with other people, because one of the things that God has given me is that I am to grandstand. I am to share the goodness of him and drop some little nuggets, some little strategies along the way. Hopefully they will be beneficial. Hopefully they will help you. And it'll give you something to kind of think about. We all have different nuggets. We all have our experiences that God has given us. I'm glad that you were here tonight as well, Ramona. But God has given each one of us experiences in our lives. And guess what? Those experiences are meant to be shared with other people. He doesn't do anything in a bubble. He doesn't do anything in isolation. He does things for us and to us and with us, so then we can then share our stories and our experiences with other people. Guess what? Your story, your experience may be the very thing that someone needs to catch on faith or to realize that, hey, I can make it. I can go a little bit further. I can do those things. I was thinking the other day as I'm coming to a close that sometimes God gives us a word for people or for a very specific person. And sometimes we are too afraid to deliver that word. And I'm going to tell you, you need to free yourself and deliver that word, and also make sure that you are delivering that word and not sitting on it, because you need to free yourself, but you also need to give that word of encouragement or freedom to the person that it was intended for. Whatever you're afraid of, ask God to give you some holy boldness and share what you need to share with that person, because guess what? The blessing that someone needs may be in your mouth. You all have a great night on tonight. And let's listen to a little bit of this theme music that I love so much. I hope I said something that was beneficial for you all on tonight. And I look forward to seeing you all on next week. Y'all have a great night. Thank you for the hearts and thank you for the likes. You all share it. If you're not a subscriber, please subscribe. Good night, everybody. Thank you for joining in. Bye-bye.